On Capitol Hill, culture wars take over debate on the annual Defense Authorization Act. Far-right Republicans in the House tied amendments on diversity in the military and access to abortion. Well, the bill passed, but will face an uphill battle over in the Senate. I spoke with Democratic Congressman Jesus Chuy Garcia from Illinois' 4th Congressional District about why he voted no. This is something that has passed bipartisan for over 60 years. What's the hangup this year?
Well, the extreme MAGA wing of the Republican Party is insisting on prioritizing things that shouldn't even be debated any longer, denying reproductive health care to service members, to women in particular. No talk about history or racism or things like slavery and Jim Crow, and of course denying other rights to members of the armed forces who may be members of the LGBTQ community. These are the priorities, and these are things that could endanger passage of the NDAA.
Any time in the past, is this the kind of thing? I know this also includes no cluster bombs for Ukraine, no other countries, but none to Ukraine. Does this kind of thing happen? Maybe I just haven't paid attention over the years.
Yes, it happens. We use the defense budget debate to advance proposals on foreign policy, national security, even though oftentimes we know that things may not pass, but it's a way to raise awareness of those issues and to set the stage for future legislative consideration.
The Republicans have permitted only 4 Democratic amendments to come through. You did have some amendments that you wanted to be part of this. So I just want to get a sense of what it is you were trying to have them address. I know part of it had to do with the military force in Mexico. What was on your mind here that they're not going to consider?
Yeah, the military force in Mexico, there are some extremists who want to invade Mexico to deal with the trafficking of drugs from the country. I think it's crazy if we look at what we did as it relates to the failed war on drugs. We know that it doesn't work. It complicates a relationship with our neighbors to the south. It's dangerous rhetoric, and believe it or not, but extremists wanted to incorporate that into the defense budget. The other amendment that I sought to pass was to ensure that as we use sanctions against different countries, that they do not result in the death of innocent civilians in those countries. Very important. And I sought to make the Department of Treasury confirm or verify that that would not happen prior to our enacting sanctions.
So while a few members of the Republican caucus seem to be controlling the game here, you're dealing with the democratically controlled Senate. So one way or another, if many of these things get into the bill, Senate's not going to accept those.
That's right. And I think that that's the reality check that the Republicans, especially the extreme wing of the Republican Party, needs to be aware of. Obviously, they're playing up to an extreme base within the Republican Party. It's irresponsible, and the actions that they are proposing have nowhere in the debate. I voted against the NDAA because I think the military budget is bloated. It will be approximately $900 billion worth. It's a staggering sum. Just to give you some perspective, if we took less than 1/10 of the military budget, we could have universal child care in our country. We could build and rebuild the Red Line extension in Chicago over 200 times. That's why it really underscores our addiction to military spending, and of course to those companies that produce those expensive weapons. And finally, the Pentagon has never passed an audit, so we have no accountability, little transparency, and that's why I oppose continuing with the bloated military budget.
While I have you, I want to ask you about the migrant situation here in Chicago area. It includes your district, of course. Have you visited the shelters? What is your sense? The politicians here have made it clear they need help from the feds, and it doesn't look like that's going to happen.
I was on hand when the first buses arrived in Chicago last year. I have visited those shelters. I think Chicago's doing the right thing by continuing the legacy of being a welcoming city for all immigrants, whether they be from Syria, Ukraine, or in this instance from the Western Hemisphere, places like Venezuela. I think the mayor's doing the right thing. We are seeking to increase the amount of funding from FEMA to assist Chicago and the state of Illinois. It's nowhere near where it needs to be. This is a complicated issue, and we need to work together, both the city, the state, and the federal government. We are working closely together to address the issue, but I'm proud of the position that Chicago has taken, protecting everyone and ensuring that when there are allegations of misconduct by officials or anyone, that it's investigated and revealed to the public. This is our legacy in Chicago. It's a city of immigrants, and very proud to be working with my colleagues in addressing this issue.
Congressman Jesus Chuy Garcia, thank you for your time. You've got a busy time out there in Washington, so I appreciate the minutes that we could have with you. Thank you, sir.
Great to join you, Paul. Take care.
Still to come on WGN TV Political Report, the search for a new Chicago police superintendent narrows to 3. We're talking to commissioners that led the first of its kind process when we come back.